Ladies and gentlemen, Stan Collymore.
Hello everybody. Firstly, hands up if you feel you've got your football club back. Fucking magnificent. Absolutely superb. Congratulations to everybody at the club. Well, what a completely different place to where we were in, February, March. I was here and met with flowers and nobody knew what was going on, and he came and did interviews about staying and talking about getting the club to where it belonged, and then thankfully he saw the light and sold the club, and everything that I'm hearing is that people are going back to the city ground in their droves. Some good young players, the manager, a very good manager of course, take the Rangers situation out, it's a very good coach and a very good manager. And people are starting to feel good about the club again. Everything that I've ever said about any club on any show, whether it be radio or television, is about engaging supporters, making supporters feel involved in their football club. And seeing Johnny Method involved in the club, Gaz Bertels, the ownership talking very well about engaging supporters and supporters' initiatives is everything that you want to hear. So congratulations, you've got your club back, absolutely magnificent. Hope the season backs it up.
Going back to the Fawaz thing, I mean, I know that you engaged him. Did you ever feel that he listened to you when you were talking to him?
I think that most people would say that he doesn't really listen, or he didn't really listen to anybody. I mean, like I say, I met him at his house, had about an hour with him, and suggested to him that because of what happened when I was initially engaged at the Bristol City game, it was the young lad, I think 16-year-old lad, that had the idea of saying, right, enough's enough, we'll take the banner, the various supporters groups are going to get involved, and I think he knew, he could see he started following me then actually on Twitter, so it was kind of, I knew that there was a dialogue there to be had. Previously, he wasn't any more interested in me than I was in him, other than that he was running a club that I care about. So in terms of did he listen, would he listen, I spoke to so many people that knew him very well, and they said, well, he just switches off after a while, he zones out, because what he believes is what he believes. But I remember going to that Bristol City game and feeling really sad and really down, because the last time I'd been in the boardroom before the Bristol City game, so the two trophies there either side, and kind of, you know, the Ken Clarks are there, the sort of fixtures of the club that have been supporting the club for many years, was that on one table there was Hassan and Fawaz's people all sort of texting and looking quite disinterested, looking very down, and then you had Ken Clark, John McGovern, and the gaffer Frank Clark on the other table, and nobody spoke, there was no communication. Now that's the first warning sign that something is seriously wrong that I saw. Now of course there was all the supporters that were sort of banging their head against the brick wall. We don't know what to do. Do we march to try and force him out and potentially do harm to our club? Do we not go into the games? Do we boycott? It's a very, very difficult set of circumstances for fans to be presented with. So all you want to do is go and watch the men in red play, win, and have a competitive team. And I'm seeing it a bit at my club, Aston Villa, at the moment. I had some very difficult years in the Premier League, which saw them further and further down and get relegated. And I bought myself, my lad, my daughter a season ticket last year in the hotel. The only one game I used, of course, in working lot was against Forest, for me. And I didn't really know this year, and I didn't really know because the owner of my club spends more time, I mean, I'm one to talk, we're on the broadcast, so that's what I'm supposed to do, and reach out to people. He spends more time fucking tweeting and making excuses. Bearing in mind, Villa have spent a lot of money on big name players. Ross McCormack, £15 million, John Terry on must be north of 80, 90, 100 grand a week. And the same results keep coming, which is average. So, for me, I said, personally, although I would like to go to Villa and buy a season ticket and invest in my club, this season I couldn't, because I just felt, I felt disconnected from the owner. So I know what you guys feel like. So to be in a position now in a new season, young players, a young manager, very good backroom staff, to have embraced lots of players that play for the club. I mean, Johnny Mettleby's exactly the sort of antithesis of having somebody like me at the club. He's very level-headed, he's behind the scenes, and that's great. I think there's room for both. But I think that to have somebody in that will do stuff behind the scenes and cajole and push and pull rather than at the first sign of something going wrong, you know, you're calling out your owner. I think it's a really wise move from ownership. I was in Greece on holiday and spoke to, Olympiakos is essentially the people's club. Panathinaikos, like Real Madrid, is the club of the state in Athens. Most people view Olympiakos as the people's club. So I chatted to some fans and they said that the ownership had done wonders to the point that he got them so consistently placed in the Champions League, buying quality players for the budget that they had, that they blew away Panathinaikos that was trying to spend money to catch them. Like Athens, the other Athens club, got relegated. So he's got a proven track record of being able to have a club that's competitive and knows what to do behind the scenes. But again, to go back to the question about Fawaz, the only concern I had at the time, having spoken to him, was that he was such a volatile guy that he could have quite easily pulled the plug on everything and said, right, I'm not going to fund the club anymore, I'm going to start to asset strip if he hadn't already, and that could have teetered and ended up in League One. Thankfully, it didn't happen, and thankfully, I think he probably went away in springtime and said, enough's enough, I've tried, and I think that there was something about the bloke that you couldn't help but like. You know, he was standing outside and, you know, the I8 Derby stuff, and he got wrapped up in sort of fan culture, which is great to buy into that. But I think that from what I saw and the stories I heard and the financial issues, that he just wasn't fit for purpose as an owner, which is another debate, of course, which is our great clubs, and Nottingham Forest is one of those clubs. Whether it be the Football League or the Premier League or the Football Association, we need to make sure that these fit and proper persons tests are upheld, that they are strict, because I would hate to ever see this club in the position that it was under Fawaz towards the end of Riga.
I think the feeling around it was really sad actually. I went to Reading away and you know, there were people at each other's throats and it was absolutely awful. I mean, one thing about football is it brings the community together, and I've never seen, I've been watching Forest all those years, I've never seen anything so divided and so awful, to be quite honest. But I think the atmosphere's back, and like Stan says, we've got our club back, so let's move on now. I want to talk to you about agents, Stan.
Yeah.
Your opinion on the game now with agents, and maybe a few stories about agents that you.
Well, I mean, I had Paul Stretford, and a lot of Forest fans would point to sort of my exit from the City ground down to him. I mean, he would call me on a day-by-day basis, and essentially I was tapped up by Manchester United, although I didn't go to Manchester United. That was Andy Cole, that was another Paul Stretford client. I've told this story many times. I drove back from the City ground back to Cannock, where I was living, down the A52, and the phone rang, and it was Sir Alex Ferguson. Now, if that would have come out now, that with that kind of move at that kind of time, Manchester United would have been in a lot of trouble. Sir Alex Ferguson would have been in a lot of trouble. But that happens all the time. I mean, the story last night that came, I'm sure most of you on social media read the papers when you get the next morning, the Danny Rose stuff. The timing of that is not insignificant. It's 2 days before the fucking season starts, and he's basically gone and done a newspaper story which says two things. Either one, to Daniel Levy, get your money out of your pocket and pay me the kind of money that Harry Kane is on, or it's his agent that is saying, hey, Chelsea, Man United, they're interested. And when everybody was talking about Spurs last year and saying, what an amazing project, all of these kids, they're on Instagram together, they're mates, they've got these great handshakes, they're really lovely. Players will do pretty much what they're told by their agent. And they will see the Neymar deal, these Spurs lads, people like Harry Kane are on less than Theo Walcott. And if you look at winning a Golden Boot last year and Theo Walcott dots in and out of an Arsenal team, Harry Kane's just a nice character that might defer for a year before going and knocking on the door. But trust me, the agent will already be nudging people and saying, if he has a good season this season, if he does the business in the Champions League, if he has a good World Cup with England, what will Harry Kane's fee be this time next year? 120, 130, 150? Well, I know Liverpool fans that would have driven Philip Coutinho to John Lennon Airport to get him out of the club for 50 if they'd have had 50 million. Now Liverpool are fucking bulking at 105. 6 months later. He's not done anything different. He's been a holdie for fucking half the time. And he's added 40 million to his value. So if you're an agent at the minute, and this was again the Michael Jarman stuff, who was the guy that reached out to me on behalf of Nottingham Forest Football Club. He said, I know Fawaz really well. He said, but I'm a fan of the club primarily. And I was like, of course you fucking are. And then I looked down the list of how many clients he's got in the academy, how many players that he's got. I think one of his star clients has just gone to Middlesbrough. Exactly. And he said, bro, I love the club primarily. It just happens to be that I'm good mates with Fawaz as well. I was like, of course you are. So he was the guy that was WhatsApping me saying, would you meet him? And I was like, yeah, great. And I knew that to get through him and to keep him on side, I could find out a little bit more about the club. But when you let agents into a club, another club at the moment, I get loads of stick. 6 years ago, Leeds fans, keep your fucking nose out of our business, Collymore, we're doing radio shows. Cellino's God, he's helped us from bankruptcy. And of course, what happens. Wolves fans at the minute, fucking hell, we've got more money than Midas, we've got the youngest Champions League captain, Everton come to our club. You keep your fucking nose out, Collymore, you dingle bastard and all this. You worry about Villa, by the way, how are they doing? Hashtag Villa are shit and all this. It's because of one agent, George Mendes, Cristiano Ronaldo, David De Gea, you name it, he's got the players, and all he's doing, he's getting it both ends. Let's get him out of Porto. Let's park him at Wolves, or Forest, or Villa, or one of the other grand dams that have fallen into the Championship. Have 2 years to polish them off as players, and then we sell them on again and again. And people say, well, they don't care as long as the players do the business. But I have a really, really hard time about clubs that have made our leagues, that have made the top division. You know, it wasn't so long ago, there'll be people here that remember Wolves being UEFA Cup finals against Spurs. I hate to see foreign owners or foreign agents come in and using our great clubs as just basically fucking the next stone, the next step to jump from. So, unfortunately, you know, I chose, and it was partially Frank Clark actually that helped me choose Paul Stretford, because he worked with him before. He was, and again, every time I use his name, I have to use the word cunt alongside it. Because he was, and is Wayne Rooney's agent. And he flew off to China last year saying he'd get a deal to China when Rooney was always going to go to Everton. But he's a ruthless man. It was about getting a player to go from one club to the next, so that when Manchester United and Sir Alex Ferguson had a fairly famous phone call now, he called Frank, and Frank wouldn't take the call. Carol who was BC's secretary for many years, little Carol, great.
Carol Washington.
She was Frank's as well, and Sir Alex Ferguson called Frank. Frank wouldn't take the call. In the meantime, Sir Alex Ferguson was having a conversation with Kevin Keegan about Keith Gillespie, and he just put the question in to Kevin Keegan, what about Andy Cole? And Andy Cole was going nowhere at the time. He was scoring 30, 40, 50 goals a season for Newcastle. And it went silent, apparently on the end of the phone, and Fergie knew he could get him, and he did get him. So of course, Paul Stretford straight away thought, well, Fergie was interested in my other client, Collymore, I've shifted Andy Cole on, and the next thing he does, he's calling me saying Liverpool and Everton are interested, and he moved things on that basis. So it's a very new world, and it's kicked on 5 or 10 times even more than that. Because with the Bosman free, with players now not even having to go on the transfer list, which means they can get paid, even if, you know, the last week you'll have read about Alexis Sanchez, had a little stomach strain and a little thigh strain. Virgil van Dijk eventually got to the point where he said, the only way I'm going to get out of this club is to put in an official request. But that's almost like a death in the family for a player now, because you can just not turn up. mope around in training, get your move, and get paid up by the buying club and by the selling club. So it's a massive problem, and it's a massive problem for clubs in the Championship that are some of the big boys, because they're the most desperate. If you're Manchester United or Liverpool or Arsenal, you've got money coming in from many, many different sources. When you're a Wolves, Ipswich haven't been in the top division now for 20 years, you will pretty much have an agent in-house that promises you the earth and delivers very little, so it's a massive problem.
Going back to the day that you were told that there was interest from other clubs, how did you feel that the club were prepared to sell you?
Frank did an interview on Match of the Day, which I've seen many times since. It was after we beat Man United at Old Trafford, scored, battered them, half a dozen, maybe more of their players that would get into an all-time Man United team. And we really did play them off the park. It was a great performance. And Frank Bock did the obligatory Match of the Day interview after. And he said, Collymore's done well. He scored the first goal here for a year, the first win at Old Trafford, they for a year. Would you sell him? And Frank's first comments in the interview was everybody's got their price, which a manager would say, which I was a little bit surprised at. But then we sort of basically, between Stretford and them, because footballers, as much as you think that footballers are, they want to go for it and bounce from club to club to make money, they primarily want to play football. The agent gets into a lot of these guys at such an early age that he just says, you play football, I'll deal with everything else. And in some cases that's dealing with bills, that's dealing with bank accounts. I know players that, I believe, for example, look at Stretford with Wayne Rooney, I don't think this is betraying the confidence, dealt with everything, every single aspect financially of that kid's life he dealt with. So you are beholden to them to some degree. And then I kept on getting the same calls every week. Everton are interested at this amount, Arsenal, when Bruce Rioch was there, they were interested, Liverpool were interested. The money kept on going up and up because the season was still involved. And then when I played, I think it was my last game, it was against Manchester City at the City Ground, we went on to Singapore to play an end-of-season friendly. The lads were then kicking on to Australia. Piercy, myself and Colin Cooper came back, so we were called up for England. It was my first call up and Colin Cooper's first call up. We're in Singapore, we went to a party. The guy that was the head of then Midland Bank, which then became HSBC, was a big Forest fan. And he had this massive fucking pile in the hills in Singapore with a pool and people with big palm leaves fucking fanning you as you walk past. It's amazing. I thought, fucking what a great gig this is. So we're talking to him, and all the lads were there having a few beers, and Alan Hill came up to me, he almost like pushed me into a corner, and he said, how much do you want? Now you automatically think the football would answer and go, well, yes, I want that. It's like, really, it's the worst question you could ask, because you do just want to play football. It's like, well, that's what Paul Stretford's for. So Willie came out with all sorts of numbers, and eventually it was I genuinely left, because again, for people that have been here, avoid repeating myself, I don't want to repeat myself all night, I'm going to, lots of other stuff. But we got to third in the league, having been promoted. No team has ever done that since, so it gives you a pretty good idea of how special that achievement was. No team's got to third, having been promoted in the first season in the Premier League in its 25th year. Frank was fairly open in terms of, well, there wasn't loads of money there to be able to flesh out the squad, so it would be what we had. So the question, and I genuinely asked that of myself, is that would I be sat here today having scored, 15, 68 in 2 seasons, promoted, 3rd division, what would have happened if we'd have finished 10th the next year and not added anybody? Because you see with what's going to happen potentially with Spurs this season, if adding players isn't just about cachet, it's about freshening up the environment. It's about saying, Harry Kane, this guy's coming in, if you're out injured or if you dip under the radar a little bit, he's going to take your place. Likewise Dele Alli. And Frank was fairly open in terms of that wasn't going to happen. I've met some of the Liverpool lads, the Redknaps and Fowlers and what have you, and they did a very good season the season before. So it was just logical. I do feel for some players when some make it very hard for themselves, and I know that in my life, for example, I haven't always communicated very well or elaborated, particularly in my career, what I wanted or the path that I was going on. But there was no kind of like ulterior motive that I'm going to have 2 years at Forest and I'm going to go here and then I'm going to go there. Just like I didn't expect to go from Crystal Palace to Southend for 6 months, and Forest take me from Southend. So I just genuinely thought that third, with Blackburn spending loads of money, you know, the Chelsea they're down, Jack Walker, Manchester United always spend money, they took Keno the year before, Liverpool spending money, it was going to be very difficult to be able to maintain that. Therefore, do you either take the jump, potentially be shit and regret it? I think if you have a chat with Gary Birtles when he went to Man United, wins 2 European Cups at Forest, goes to Man United, doesn't quite happen for him. Other people like Alan Brazil, exactly the same, when he got Spurs, Man United, didn't happen. Nowhere near as much as when he was at Ipswich Town. But it's a very difficult one. And do I feel that now as a 46-year-old man, there is a 10 and 23-year-old, 25-year-old player, should I have stayed? Yeah, should have stayed for another year, 2, 3 years. But there would have been no guarantees that, I mean, let's put it so, we would have gone on and won the UEFA Cup. May well have got knocked out, the players that played well in that tournament, all galvanised themselves. We may have finished 5th, may have got relegated again. So you're having to think very quickly, under pressure from an agent that's turning around to you saying, by the way, they're offering this, they need an answer tomorrow, when you're 23, 24 years of age. It's very, very difficult. And I don't envy anybody, even some of the players now, you know, the Neymars, we've all had our say, £250 million, and even if he has bullshitted and said it's because he wants to go and win trophies in Paris, if he's earning 100 grand at Barcelona and somebody's offering you £500,000, when you go to bed at night, you're going to think seriously about that. You just are.
Absolutely. I think to be fair as a Forest fan, whether you'd have stayed or not, we'll probably have his ups and downs because that just seems to be the way it goes. You alluded to Frank. I talked to Frank quite a bit. I've got a lot of respect for him. I don't obviously know him as well as you do. There are rumours that he might be coming back to the football club.
Fucking hallelujah. The one thing I mean, you're talking about a guy that wasn't just a football manager at places like Orient, but he was also, you know, chief exec of the League Managers Association, so he knows every manager. He mentors young managers. I've seen, I won't name the manager, but he's just nicked Forest star player to his club. And they've received texts from people like Frank and Sir Alex Ferguson, you know, keep it up, you know, have you thought about doing this and that? And I like that, because in a footballer's world, unless you've got a very strong dressing room of characters like Stuart Pearson would come up and give you a bollocking or give you a pat on the back, those days are gone. It's every man for himself in a football dressing room, by and large. So to have a situation whereby you have a Frank Clark that knows every manager, that he was seen to be important enough and have the brain to be able to lead that group of managers for many, many years, I think again does Fawaz no credit, because Fawaz didn't give him the teeth that his Frank's reputation deserved. He should have been a chairman or a president with teeth, to be able to employ people, to be able to bring people in, to be able to have the kind of structure that we've talked about here last February, that fans have cried out for quite some time, director of football, proper coaching, investment in facilities, etc., etc. I hope that if the ownership bring Frank in, they give him the tools to do the job. He doesn't need to be a figurehead. I know that he's getting on a bit now, but if you say to him, and I did, and we had the chat at the Bristol City game, and he just kind of was, well, it is what it is at the moment. We're hoping we can get through it, etc., etc. Give the bloke some teeth, give him the ability to be able to push the club further forward, and he will, because he loves the club. He's in the area, he always has been. Played for the club with aplomb. He's one of those rare people that worked with a true genius of a manager. I'm talking about a genius of a manager that knew how to push and pull people in an organisation rather than go, let's just slap this cheque in front of this player and bring him in. Now, there's a lot of bullshit talked about Mourinho and Pep Guardiola and Klopp and what have you. Now, Pep Guardiola was supposed to be the manager that was going to develop Man City players. His goalkeeper had a stinker last year, so he goes and pays another shed load for a goalkeeper this year. His central defender had a stinker last year, so he brought in another one and some full-backs. You know, Brian Clough didn't have the luxury of doing that. So the people that then he passed the baton to, like Martin O'Neill and Frank Clark, found alternative ways in their managerial career to be able to make teams. They were both successful at it. When I came here, it was from Southend. No expectation on me at Southend. Small club in Essex, treated me very well, but now I was playing at Nottingham Forest. We had an absolutely shocking start to the championship season. I think we lost 4 or 5 in the first 6 games. It was Stuart Pearce, it was Archie Gemmell in the dressing room. It was players like Steve Chettle with a quiet word here and there. That had been in teams where the pressure had been on and they competed. So it's really important that some of the older guard in the squad now step up and be consistent. And I think that's been one of the things. On any given day, like when I was at Villa Park last year, watching the Villa Forest game, there were times Forest were really good, and there were times they looked distinctly average. Just like Villa, times they looked really good, times they looked they couldn't keep a clean sheet, so they like. For Forest this season, it's got to be about consistency. So seeing the first result on the opening day is a clean sheet with not a perfect performance, both extremely well. Because I know that my club at the minute, with all of the resources that they've got, all the money that they've spent, all the experience they've brought in, I know we're going to concede virtually every game. So that's a clean sheet that the manager will be able to go in and say, didn't play particularly well at times today, there's plenty of room for improvement. Sometimes we get caught in possession at the back playing the ball out, but we won and we get to clean sheet. And if you get over that hump, these 2 games in particular coming up, and get points, and then go into this kind of raft of kind of Sunderland, Villa, Hull, with confidence, then there's no reason why the team, the club, the manager, who's extremely experienced in his backroom staff, can't, when we get to the dog days of Christmas, when the games come thick and fast, be in a really competitive position. That's as a former Red that went through a shit start to a championship season, and we got back on track in December, January. That's my challenge to them. Go through your little rough spell, get it out of the way, and then be consistent. Because if they are, we've already seen people turn up to the City Ground in their numbers. Everybody wants the team to do well, everybody feels good. So the fans are going to get behind them. If you're a player now walking out to the City Ground, you're not going to have people, you know, players are like everybody else, they react to moves. If it's Fawaz out, there's a protest today, and people haven't turned up, and it's a shitty day, it can affect 1 or 2. Full City Ground, 2 or 3 wins, getting a bit of momentum with all those big boys to come on the way. Genuinely think Forest will compete, and I'd be very disappointed if they didn't compete this season. Because the manager, the structure, the setup, I haven't heard the owner come out and go, we're going to spend fucking £50 million this transfer window, or in January. They're doing their stuff behind the scenes. And again, going back to chatting to people around Olympiakos, they have a marquee signing because it's the biggest club in Greece. But they do a lot of really good under the radar stuff with looking, can we nick this player under the radar of them before they go for the next year? We can bring that to Forest. I think there's plenty. I mean, the lad Mackay, again, from what you guys have seen last year, he said, pacey, runs into the channels, he can play wide, he can play up top. Happy days. He's come from a big club, don't forget, with a lot of expectation in Rangers. Whether it's a shit league or not, it's another thing. But he's gone from one big club with a lot of expectation to another big club. So that will stand him in good stead. When he's at Brentford, I think there is a great fit for Forest eventually because he wants to get the ball down and play, primarily. You were suggesting that it's a 4-4-2 team that is struggling to adapt. Ball coming out the back, getting nicked in possession. 2 ways you can basically deal with it. We did the same when we were in the Championship and lost the first 5 or 6 games. Played 2 up top, played 4-4-2, didn't work. Frank went, lost 5 or 6 games under major pressure. He was under major pressure, he was the manager because he just followed the man that was impossible to follow anyway. Put 5 in midfield, put me up top, it worked. Now is Mark pragmatic enough to say to the back 4, I don't want you to play at the back, we might just have to be a little bit more direct at times, clear our lines, make a step up 5 or 10 yards? Or does he do the Pep Guardiola route when it comes to the Premier League, which says, I'm going to do what the fuck I like. I'm going to bring my style of football to you and you're going to adapt to me. Which of course, for 2 games at the beginning of Pep Guardiola's first season, when they were walloping teams 3 and 4-0, and every press man this side of Sydney were going, it's a game changer, he's changing the way the English play. To then see John Stones like fucking Bambi on ice, Claudio Bravo, making Bruce Grobbelaar look fucking solid on a good day, to changing his way of playing, is Will Mark doing that? I think if you're going to be competitive in the Championship, it will eat you up and spit you out and lose 6 games in quick succession, you know that. You've seen Championship games, you've just come off the back of 3-game winning streak, and you think, great, we're getting momentum here. But how many teams in the Championship, I can think of Reading a few years ago where they started poorly, barely lost a game for the rest of the season, got promoted, and Burnley, that were one of the favourites to go down 2 or 3 years ago again, and they got promoted. So it's going to be about consistency. If it was me, and I'm not a manager, I don't think so, Mark's a great manager, is that if you're getting results and nicking 1-0s and just get to September, October without any major injuries, you can teach them on the training ground what you want them to do in trying to play at the back, but you can limit mistakes. That's the best solution for everybody. But if those mistakes are going to start to turn into goals, which turns from a trickle into a flood like Man City did, and all of a sudden you're under major pressure, then he would have to address that in double quick time. But I would imagine that if he's going to see what's going to happen over the next couple of games, of course he's playing against his former club, Brentford, 9 points in the first 3 or 4 games, say 9 points from 12, players all of a sudden then, just like Chet, Norm, Des Little and what have you, you automatically start to guard you goal that much more anyway, because you start to get momentum. I don't think he needs to play football for football's sake, but there is 1 or 2 suggestions from Forest fans as well, to you included, that perhaps at the moment it could do with a little change of system to get key personnel in key roles.
Yeah, I think at the moment most people are saying, why the hell is Ben Brogan playing on the wing? I mean, I don't get that one, but I'm a football manager. It seems strange that, people play square pegs in round holes, and you've obviously worked with managers that have done that. I don't understand that kind of.
Yeah, I think that when it works spectacularly well. I mean, Gareth Bale went from a left back to one of the great attackers. Cristiano Ronaldo went from a skinny little, right and left winger to sort of drifting in and scoring shed loads of goals. So I can see why managers do it, because they see these guys on the training pitch every day and they say, well, actually he's really good at going forward, we should utilise that a little bit more. But what you want that to be is ideal on the training ground. You don't want to be messing around with systems and making a huge amount of mistakes. But like I say, if my club, and I knew that the first game of the season against Hull City, that Aston Villa would take the lead and win 1-0, I'd be happy. I know that that's not going to happen all season. And Villa got fucking John Terry, they've brought Hogan for a lot of money, they've brought McCormack for a lot of money, they've got you now, so, yeah, exactly, for the minute. Hey, for the minute, alright, I'll give you that. Have a fucking tea coffee. I'm not a Derby fan, I'm a Villa fan, hands across the Midlands and all that kind of stuff, Star Soccer, Big Peter Weir, we've shared him. But as far as I'm concerned, the most important thing at the start of the season is, can you keep clean sheets and can you nick results? Because there aren't many teams that are hitting the ground running. We've got 40 odd games to play. Fitness is completely different from football fitness, as you will watch teams develop over 6 to 8 to 10 games. So get points on the board. Other things will iron themselves out. The one thing you've got is a very good coach and a very good coaching staff. Of that there is no doubt. He knew that when he was at Brentford, and he took, the amazing story from going as a stockbroker to say, right, I want to be a football coach, and actually take a kind of a cut and pay to be at Brentford. Because that's what he wanted to do, that was his passion. The Rangers Celtic is always very difficult. You can either explode in your face or go extremely successfully well. He's back at a club now that wants to play attractive over football. He obviously wants to do that. But the most important thing is get those results, because have a look from sort of September through till pretty much November, December, all of the championship big boys with their expectation from their fans are coming across the road.
We're going to move on a little bit, Stan. Obviously, you've now got a career in the media. You're going to tell us a little bit about things that you're doing at the moment?
Yes, I just got back literally from New York today. So, in the summertime, it was about May, June, I had a phone call from a mate of mine that works for RT. Now, some people know RT is a news channel that is a Russian propaganda channel. It's actually a really interesting story. And they're not, they're a news channel. Basically, what the president of Russia and the Russian government decided to do is that in most people's homes in Russia, they have CNN, they have BBC World, like you do when you go on hotels and all, and you get the choice of all the news channels globally. So they started one and they played a lot of money into it. So I had a phone call. He said, look, it's World Cup year in Russia. Would you be interested in you do what the fuck you like? We want you to come to Russia, but you go wherever you like. We saw you doing your filming in Marseille last year, where there was Russian hooligans and English hooligans. And I was harsh on both. I don't just want to see people fucking running around anymore and kicking in cars and chucking chairs and stuff. It's been done. So he said, the fact that you are a black man that has been very harsh on Russians in the last 12 months, you're perfect. Because you can go off and do it and have some credibility, rather than if we just send some Russian correspondents, there's nothing to see here, people won't believe us. So of course I was sceptical, did all my research background. So the 4 cities were Kazan, which will be the first Muslim city to host a World Cup next year. It's pretty much like Turkey, it's kind of secular Islam. St. Petersburg, one of the world's most beautiful cities, grand palaces, like Paris, but fucking freezing. Moscow's like London, H&M, Zara, Starbucks, pretty much in the beautiful old Stalin-esque buildings. And Sochi, where they had the Winter Olympics and the Grand Prix. So we went and did filming. And when we'd finished in the day, 3, 4 o'clock, we'd go off on my own. I always go off on my own, pair of jeans and t-shirt. The people were kind, open. Nobody looked as if it means if I had fucking horns coming out of my head. And so it wasn't not what I was expecting. I've travelled I've been to 99 countries now, and there's only a couple that I would say that I've been a little bit concerned in. One was Shanghai in China, where we got scammed. And sometimes in the United States, if you go off the beaten track in a big city into the wrong area, it can, so that's 2 countries out of 99. Everywhere else, you remember the Sol Campbell story from Euro 2012. If you're English and go to Ukraine, you're going to get your head kicked in. If you're black, you're going to get knifed, etc., etc. I know some of you are England fans that travel. It's the best fucking trip I've ever been on. People were extraordinarily friendly. The food, the drink, the birds are the fittest birds you've ever seen in your life. If that's important to you. There's no dogging going on, which is an unfortunate thing. But then of course Cologne for that. So I'm a savvy enough traveller to know that what do people want? They want a job, they want peace, they want security, they want graft, and they want health for their family. Wherever you go, pretty much. So I came back from Russia and had a fucking great time. So they called me and said, would you do the World Cup? I said, absolutely I will. So then I had another call a week later saying, would you do a show? So their main studios are in Moscow, Berlin, Washington DC, it's politics. But they've got studios in London, in Millbank, right near Westminster. So they said, we'd like you to do a 30-minute show, a football show, because it's World Cup year. So in some of the stories we'd like the World Cup. I said, well look, it's easy. We'll do whatever the topic of the day is wherever in the world, ticket prices, shirt prices, sectarianism, homophobia, sexism, racism. Some stories from around the world that are interesting. Some of you might remember a guy called Cubillas that played for Peru. White shirt, red stripe, he's called the Pele of Peru. Interviewed him in Miami a couple of weeks ago. So they basically said, you go where you feel the stories are, and reported them. So we went out to the Clásico, which was Neymar's last game for Barcelona. Got incredible access there. Just got back from New York, where I interviewed Patrick Vieira for an hour. And this interview, I have to say, is the best interview I've ever done, because I sat him down, manager of New York City FC, Arsenal legend, one of the Invincibles. He talked about how soft youngsters are these days in football. His thoughts that he wants to see B teams in the Championship or lower, which we massively disagreed on. Because of our great heritage in English football of having independent clubs, Mansfield, Notts, wherever. It was a great interview, and then Shaq Hislop that played in the World Cup in 2006. But when I went to Russia, I talked to fan groups, and Zenit St. Peter's, it reminded me of being there. It was a sports club. And we found 50 or 60 fans that were season ticket holders who just loved their club. They had a lot of stick because they built a new stadium. It's cost a lot of money, way beyond, lots of talk of corruption, possibly is. And then Wembley cost 6 or 7 times what it should have been. So it needs to bring into context. And I said, what about racism? I said, in your country? And they went, well, go and walk around the streets and see if you encounter any. And I did, I went everywhere and I didn't encounter any. I said, is there racism here? Of course there is. I said, but we could find YouTube clips fairly easily of men and women in England on buses and public transport calling people coons and niggers and patties and what. It's a fair point. So I said, what about hooliganism? I said, because I followed some of these guys and they were fucking 6'5", built like brick shit houses. You see the YouTube videos of them fighting in forests and what have you. And they said, well, we want them out of our club, but we're not in a position like you are in England, where you've been dealing with it for 20 years, you've had a 5-year ban after Heysel, you've had banning orders on individuals to stop them travelling, we're getting there. So I did a bit of research, and the Russian government have banned 190. There's one top lad that they've got that feels he's the big fucking I am, and he's always willing to do newspaper interviews. So Russia were playing New Zealand, Dublin game of the Confederations Cup, he gets in his car in some fucking northern city with a ticket, they arrested him, banning order for life. So from what I've seen, they're starting to do things. But of course we have one image, and that's it's racist or it's not. There are lots of different, I mean, it's the biggest country in the world. 174 million people. Muslims, blacks, whites, and a lot of African students there seeing there is a lesbian and gay issue, which I think they need to address massively in society. But overall, it wasn't a great deal different to anywhere else. So anyway, so I agreed to do it, having took everything into context and looked at it. So the end of next week, I'm going to Tehran. Iran play Syria. There are only three teams that qualify for the World Cup at the moment. Brazil, pissed it in their group, South America. Russia as hosts, and Iran have qualified. Carlos Queiroz, who was at Man United, his right-hand man. And they're playing Syria. And the reason why I wanted to do this story is because I've never been to Iran. I want to go and watch the football. They're football mad, very highly educated people as well. But the Syria story, they haven't played one qualification game in Syria because of what's gone on in this proxy war, which is basically between the United States and Russia, and between Shia Islam and Sunni Islam, backed by all these sides. And you're seeing the fucking horrific stories of kids and Aleppo and what have you. And they've never played one home game, but they can qualify for the World Cup. And the one thing that this sport gives us is the ability to see stories like that and to celebrate them. So I'm going off everywhere, all around. We're going to Premier League games, we're going to Glasgow, I'll be part of the Green Brigade because they're safe standing. Hillsborough is going to be revisited because a friend of mine, Louise, lost her brother Andy there. So it's a 30-minute show every Monday. It's going to be on in the UK, it's on channel 512 on Sky, repeated every 4 hours. And it will actually be a football show that I can put my name to that deals with issues. The way that kits now, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you'd have a kit for 2 seasons. Now the Premier League have let that slide. Now you can fucking change all 3 kits. I get so many emails from parents saying, I can't afford 200-300 quid, Stan, every season, but my kid's not going to stop asking for it every season, the 3rd kit that gets used for one game. So, all of those issues we dealt with. I'll be as honest and brutal as I can be about everything, and I'm looking to watch it. So we're starting September from London, so it'll be every half an hour. We've got a football show that looks at the lighter side, the clear side, the dark side. So hope you enjoy it.
got a Facebook message this morning from a friend of mine, Kev Cooper, who does an absolute load for kids football in Nottingham. Kev's over there with Glasses, great bloke. And he just told me a little bit of a story about a lad today who, it's his 50th birthday, his name's Jason.
Where is he? Jason. Right, let me take over here. You don't need to go massively into this story. He's going to say Jason's had a shitty, bit of shitty news recently. It's fair. Shush, please. It's fairly serious now. Jason's had a bit of shitty news. Big Forest fan. 50th birthday today. Another one that's had a fucking hard life by the look of it. You'd never think he was only 4 years older than me, would you? I know that black don't crack and all that, but pal, we know you've had a bit of a shitty time lately. We told the story, and genuinely from me and my family to yours, I hope everything works out. We wanted to get you a little memento to cheer you up. It's a very nice shirt from back in the day, and we wanted you to have it with our gratitude and have a great day. Pints on me. You fancy going jogging later? I'll take you with me. He's got the absolute perfect jogging look. Balls are popping big. But genuinely, hope you enjoy it. Something to the brain or something, and happy birthday, pal. Can we sing happy birthday, really? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jason.